Okay, so I'm going to click over to you and we'll stay on your screens. And then I just want you to talk a little bit about how the photographs were made and what you think of it and kind of self-critique it a little bit first. And then I'm going to come back in and give you my thoughts.
Okay.
Okay.
Shall I begin?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first four images I'm going to show are actually part of a set of 6. It was an editorial that I created, and this was my first time ever trying to put a series of 6 different images together. Prior to that, I'd mostly just been doing singular images, and these pictures were actually taken on a Miss Aniela fashion shoot experience in Iceland, which I went to in April. And when I was there, there were several photographers all there at the same time, and it was pretty challenging with the weather and the locations to do things as a Miss Daniela fashion shoot experience. You normally have one-on-one with the models, but there was less of that this time because the models could only stay out in the cold for so long, and the weather kept changing, and we couldn't use lights, and there were a ton of different challenges that we had to meet. So I was very conscious of the fact that there were a lot of photographers in the same place taking similar images. And I really felt strongly that I wanted to make sure when I came back that my images would be different from everyone else's. So I noticed that the photographers usually were taking pictures in packs, and I always tried to make sure I moved away from where everyone else was if I could. And I spent a lot of time on my belly taking pictures from down there. I mean, not all the time, but just some of the time. And one thing that really struck me with the landscape in Iceland was that it kept reminding me of being underwater. So whilst I was there, I had this idea in my head that I was going to make some of the images look like they were some kind of underwater fantasy. So as soon as I returned to the US from Iceland, the first thing I did was take a trip to the aquarium, where I shot a lot of footage that I intended to use to help me create the images I could see in my head. So that's the story of how these images came together. I felt like the models were like sirens, so I called this series Siren Songs. I actually submitted this editorial for Dark Beauty magazine. It was one of my goals this year to get an editorial published in that magazine, and they accepted it, and it was published actually this month on August the 15th. So this is my first sort of major publication as well. So that's where I am with these images. You're only going to see 4 out of the 6. This was the first image in the series. When I put them together, I thought about page layouts and where titles would go and that kind of thing. So I have 2 double-page spread images, and then I had 4 portrait-style ones that went in between those 2. And this was the very first one.
Okay. So these are absolutely beautiful, and we were. I noticed that in the group that. And I can't remember who it was, but somebody gave you a little bit of a hard time about the fact that these were workshop shots.
It's not really a workshop, it's an experience. So I have to say there is a difference. You're not taught anything on these. It's up to you to do what you can with the model. I mean, you're not taught anything. You're basically facilitated.
Mm-hmm.
Models and the makeup and the hair and the stylist wardrobe.
Right. So I actually, I think that is an important discernment between the two, because if it's not being a class that's taught and you're essentially paying for this, on one hand, I can understand the conversation from the side of it's not the same because the location, the model, the makeup, the wardrobe, everything was provided for you. But at the same time, on the other side, if there isn't a teaching and a guidance thing necessarily going on with that, where you're getting time with like a master photographer essentially, then really it's the same as if you had a team and were working on you know, on a collection like for magazines in the same way that people do editorial shoots, because there is a wardrobe stylist and there is a hair and makeup artist and there usually is an art director, you know, figuring it out, and they rent location. So it's the same kind of thing. Um, I love that you were bold with this image, and that you took it to a fantasy place and that you saw water, because I can totally see where that manifested from, and I love that her colors completely complement the surroundings. That said, I don't think that this totally works because believability goes out the door with underwater because of her hair. Like when you're floating, your hair floats, and it's just laying on the ground. So it ruins the illusion of that for you. I'm also not sure how I feel about the fish because there's just this one random fish hanging out in the corner. I think maybe if it was a school, it might have helped complete the illusion a little bit more. And with you saying that she's underwater, I definitely get the feeling of that, and I can see that on the rocks and stuff behind, but there would also be the light breaking across her her skin tones and the dress and the ground that she's on as well, and there isn't any of that. So just some really extra extra detail things to keep in mind.
That's a really good point. It wasn't meant to be literally underwater. It was meant to be, because I knew I couldn't achieve that, it was meant to be more of an inspiration of underwater and a mystery of where you were. Maybe that's the way of fudging it. Because I knew I couldn't make underwater shots. It was more inspired by underwater, if you see what I mean.
Right.
But also it's got this fantasy element. But I totally agree with you about the caustics.
The other important thing to remember is that once you put a photograph out into the world, whether it's via magazine or online, 98% of the people that are touched by it, you aren't there to talk about what inspired you to create it or what you were going for, that they can go, oh yeah, I totally can see that. So if the story isn't presenting itself strong enough that somebody can get that without you, then for me it's a failed attempt. Okay. Which I don't necessarily think that this is. I just think that it's, as far as the concept of underwater, in the literal sense, I think it would have failed, but it kind of has this like, this sort of Chagall painting kind of feel to it, where it's a surreal interpretation. So I don't think that it's totally lost. If it was me, I would probably take the fish out, or I would add a bunch more in to make it potent. The one there by itself, I don't think is working. I love her. I'm not sure about the crop with half her body because it's cut just a little bit strange, that it widens out and you don't have that slope starting back down the line of the hip, so it makes her look a little bit wider than she is. And her hands just kind of severed, just resting on her waist like that. So I would have liked to have seen her maybe come a little bit more to her side so we could have seen a little bit more of her arm, or I would have taken her hand out entirely and just had it be the line of her body. Okay. I would have also pulled her chin down just a little bit so we got a very defined jawline there. Because, do you have headphones in, love?
Pardon?
Do you have headphones in?
No.
Okay. Do you happen to have a pair?
Yes.
Okay. Can we put them in? Because I'm hearing a really bad echo. It's making it hard for me to concentrate.
Okay. 1 second.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's beautiful. The jawline I would have down a little bit more, just because it gives her the illusion of a double chin, just slightly.
Can you hear me now? Oh, you're muted.
Perfect.
Okay, cool.
So I think that that's something to look at. I also think the arm, her right arm, laying out in front of her, I would have pulled that down just a little bit because I think it's competing with her face and her neck. So I would have probably had the arm come um, down more towards the line of her body, also to hide the the underneath of the arm and the armpit a little bit, because they're just never flattering. If you'd pulled that down a little bit more, I think it would have been a little more appealing and slenderizing for her. Um, but overall, I think it's a really, really beautiful, beautiful portrait. So I'm gonna give you a commendable. I think it's really beautiful. Hmm. Yeah. It's not letting me unmute you. I think you have to unmute you.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Okay. Okay. So tell me about this one.
So this is another one in the same series. One of the things when you're in a situation like this, when you take thousands of pictures or hundreds and hundreds of pictures, I think that one of the most important things is getting your selections correct.
Mm-hmm.
So you can come back, and whilst you're shooting, everything's in such a whirl, everything's moving so fast, and you can look at the back of your screen every now and again, but you're not really sure until you get back to your computer exactly what you've got. And it's an insane disappointment when you find that your favorite image is out of focus, or something like that. So I tried really hard when I was going through the images to think about how I was going to make my selection, and not just go for the first picture that sort of off the bat spoke to me, but to really study them and see how other people might react to them. And with this one, I really liked the emotion of it. She felt like she was almost drowning or tired or flailing in some way, and she didn't really have that model look to her. And even though I like fashion photography, in a way I'm more on the fine arts side of things, because I don't like to follow all those fashion rules. I like to follow my own rules. So this image, just her facial expression just really spoke to me. So this is the one that I selected. The dress was actually much more, how can I say? So the dress out in the field wasn't looking so great. It kept wibbling around and what have you. So I did a lot of work on her figure, and I decided to go in this more voluptuous direction with it, to give it that kind of romantic shape, rather than a straight up sort of fashion model, very slender look. That's the way it just spoke to me as I was working on it. And then with the overall series, I tried to tie the colors together. I used shades from, blue, aqua to green. And the way that I presented them in order, I balanced them out with each other so that the blues weren't next to each other, but they were opposite, that kind of thing. So that's why this one was blue. There's some decisions about it I'm not so keen about afterwards. I tried to add this floating murkiness, and I'm not sure, maybe it's a little too white. And I think that the area on the right-hand side of the screen is also a little too white. And I think that some of my caustics are in focus where they should be blurred.
I'll agree with you. Now, are you adding like the water field from another photo, from some of the aquarium photos?
You mean overall, the little speckly things?
Yeah, like the little refractions in light.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that this is such a beautiful shot, and I think that you're in such an incredible location that very, very few people get to actually shoot in. And you're right. I love the dreamy feel of her. She looks gorgeous. I love the voluptuous curves. I love her pose. I love her expression. I love the emotion and energy she's exuding, and I love that she's kind of lost in this almost surreal fairy-like version of a cliff. Um, and I think it's a really beautiful shot. I think the fact that you actually added the blurring and the water light refraction actually detracts from the potency of the shot. So I would be very interested to see it without those overlays and just in the location as it was. But that's really my only critique. I would definitely take those out. But overall, this is just an absolutely stunning shot. I think it's exceptional. I think it's probably one of the best that I've seen so far in critiques. Okay, so we're just gonna have to go through, and I think I'm just gonna have to mute you and then you take it off in order to go back and forth because the echo's really bad when I'm talking to you.
So the blur is for real. It's actually shot with a, I think, 85mm lens. So that's actual depth of field that you see on the left. But I think what my issue is, on looking at it afterwards, was that I didn't blur the caustics to match the depth of field. So I can't get rid of the blur. That's actually in the shot.
I don't think it's necessarily the blur that's bothering me as much as the blur coupled with the water. Like, it doesn't bother me near as much down along the bottom right-hand side, but the top side looks really out of place, and it looks like a poor edit with someone that doesn't know what they're doing with blur. And obviously with the retouching and the quality you do, so I think it's just the water overlay competing with the depth of field.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I'd already noticed that myself, of course, after I'd finished it, because you always notice these things after it's too late, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But even still, I think it's an exceptional photo.
Thank you.
All right, excellent.
So, you know the story by now, so this was another one. I really like this one, came together really easily. And so there's something about it that bugs me. I really wanted her to feel like she was sleeping upright. And I'm just not sure if I got the angle exactly right because it's cheated, and I think I noticed too much that I'm cheating. So I'm so close to it now, I can't even get away from myself to look at it objectively enough. And know if that's working or not. I'm not sure. I just don't know. But I think it's interesting, and I sort of felt like she was on the side of a cliff and that she was just sort of suspended there asleep. I love the colors of this one. I love that I managed to get a puffin in because puffins are from Iceland, but I didn't see a single one when I was there. I love puffins, but I managed to shoot one in the aquarium under the water diving, so I was happy to be able to add that in. And that's about it, really. Okay.
So again, I love the fact that you're being bold with your intentions and trying these things that make them very surreal kind of photographs. This one is not working though, because it doesn't look like she's sleeping upright. It looks like you uploaded it sideways. So I'd be, and you can probably do this right now actually, and just go in and rotate it. But I think that it's a really strong image, and you're trying to push it to new boundaries, which I think is really, really important for an artist. I love when they play, but part of that is also knowing when it doesn't work, and here it's not working. I think the fact that you have it rotated is actually taking away from the photograph a lot more than it's adding to it. Because I'm totally turning my head sideways while I'm looking at it too. But I do think that is a beautiful photograph. I love the colors. Again, you know, the stylist and the way that they brought it together, they did an absolutely fabulous job. I love the beams of light coming down towards her. It has this very ethereal Sleeping Beauty kind of effect. Um, I'm again like I love the fact that you're being bold and you're experimenting and you're pulling like the water theme into it, and I'm not sure that the puffin is actually adding to the shot, but I don't necessarily think that it's taking away either. Overall, it's a really, really gorgeous photograph. The lighting is beautiful. The texture is beautiful. I love the depth of field. I love all the detail in her dress and her hair. I'm going to give it a commendable. I think that it's really good, but I don't think you quite hit the mark with this one with the current orientation of it. So.
Thank you. Okay, next.
Yeah.
So this is the image that I began with, although it's the final image in the set. So this was like the grand finale, and I spent way too long on this image. It frustrated me no end. I went back and forth with it so many times, and in the end I couldn't even look at it. But coming back to it today, I think I liked it more than I did when I last looked at it. So maybe it's not so bad after all. But this is one of the environments that gave me the inspiration for being underwater. And this is where I use the most elements from my shoot at the aquarium. I felt like it was she had this kind of pre-Raphaelite feel. So I wanted to use that, and I call this image the beckoning, and that's about it, really.
I love this photograph. I love the idea of it, and I think, and this again, this is really tough because we're just kind of getting to know each other because I came in halfway through, but I think that you're a bit of an overachiever. And we might have to work just a little bit on you being able to pull back a little bit, because I'm maybe recognizing this in you because I have a tendency to do this too, where you just want so much impact and you want it to be so mesmerizing that you push it past that point almost to the point of it kind of oversaturating itself on the idea. So I think the location is incredible. She's beautiful. The jellyfish, I don't think are working. They take away from her, and I think that they are too big comparatively. Like, look at the size of the jellyfish compared to the size of her head. So I don't think that the perspective is working right there. Same thing, you have like what is essentially a little school of fish that are the same size as her body. But I love the other ones that are on her left-hand side on our right, that seem to be like swimming off the side there. I think that those totally work. I love the halo of light. And I positively love that you turned her dress to water because it looks like a gown, but it does look like water too. It's very, very well done as a whole. So I might have taken a few of those elements out or resized and positioned them so that they were accentuations of the piece. Like you can see on her right, the little school, how they almost just kind of blend into the background. So they're there, but they're not competing with her for the leading role in the photograph. You know what I mean? But overall, again, I think it's an exceptional shot. I'm going to give you 3 points for it because I do think it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
So, okay, so you can go up to the left and click on the screen share. Oh, no, we have one more, right? Yeah, one more. I'm jumping the gun.
Okay. So I'm including this one because it's my most divisive image, and I found out that people either absolutely love it and they think it's the best thing I ever did, or they absolutely hate it. So I recently gave my website address to a potential client, and basically her first reaction was that if I want to get commercial work, I have to take this image off the website. So I did, because I wanted the job, and I got the job. But it then suddenly made me realize that even if you accept that people don't like something, it could actually promote an even stronger reaction, and you could lose work because of it. Now, I generally wouldn't really care what other people think, but right now I needed some work, so I felt like it was just the wise thing to do to take it off, and that was that. So I just had this crazy reaction to it in both ways. So this is a self-portrait. It's untitled. I have no intention of describing to anyone at all, what was going through my head when I created it or why I created it. It's really meant to be for the viewers to make up their own minds from.
I think that that is the mark of an artist. I think when you stop feeling the need to explain and you're content to let people make up their own stories and feel what they feel about your work, that's a really strong vote of confidence that your art is good. And that is powerful. And honestly, I would rather have people have a visceral reaction to you, positively or negatively, than feel indifferent towards your work. And you're right, this image is definitely an image where, depending on the story that people tell themselves, that they're either going to appreciate it or they're going to loathe it. And I think either one is actually good, because you look around on social media, people share things that bug them almost more than they share things that they love. So, which is why like everybody fights on the internet, or they share cat pictures, and that's about it. I think that it's a good image, but I don't think that it's a great image. I think that the subject and the concept of it is pretty profound, but I think photographically, it's just falling just a little short. The lighting's a little bit flatter than the other pieces that you were showing. I'm not digging at all the light reflections on the floor. I think it's taking away, and there's nothing that's really grounding you because it's such a high angle that again, you almost can't tell orientation as to whether they're above you in like the sense of floating, or whether you're actually like almost on a wall and hanging, which makes it interesting to look at. So that might not be a bad thing. I love the blank expression, and I love that there's at least 35 different stories people can tell themselves about this image, and some of them are probably really dark. So I'm going to give it a commendable. I think that it's a good photo, but I don't think that it's keeping par with the other work that you showed in the critique.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now go up and turn off the screen share. And I think we fixed whatever the problem was with the echo, so yay!
Yay. Okay,
so so tell me a little bit about you and your work and what you're looking to do.
So I lost my job about 8 months ago, and I took a bit of a sabbatical, and then I am looking into making photography my new career. So I've been working on that. I'm taking a commercial photography course that lasts for a year, and that's just an online course, so it's basically you follow it in your own time. And I'm also leading a mentorship on Google Plus through Robin Grigswood.
Okay.
In storytelling and isolation techniques. I'm doing that right now. I have a lot more time when I finish that. It takes a lot of time. And what else am I doing? I just landed my sort of first commercial job shooting some products, which probably doesn't sound very exciting to anyone at all, but for me, it's just so amazing to be able to make some money out of creating photos, whatever they are, because I just absolutely love photography. So I've really only been doing photography like this for just over 2 years. I'm pretty much self-taught. Until 2 years ago, I was just taking pictures of you know, going for a walk and taking pictures of a house and a mailbox and a street sign, that kind of stuff. And then through Google Plus, I discovered one day that instead of just taking pictures, I could make them. And I have a background in digital art anyway, so that I suddenly thought, well, I could use the skills that I have there and pair them with my photography. So a couple of years ago, that's what I started doing. I never did art at school. My mum wouldn't let me because she said I would never get a job with art. But all my life I've been doing a job which has been art-based. I started as a 3D animator and then a visual effects artist and then a game artist and that kind of thing. So I do have that kind of background, but things like Photoshop I'm totally self-taught, and photography as well.
So where are you looking to go? If I could do a fairy godmother thing and snap my fingers and put you exactly where you want to be with your art, what does that look like for you?
Well, I'm very indecisive about things like this. I've always been a jack of all trades kind of person. I have a multimedia degree, which just about sums me up because I'm not very good at specializing and I like to have my finger in many pies. And I've always been pretty competent at doing a lot of different things. So this is the trouble for me. I actually, all my life, have been working as an artist in a commercial environment where I've been answering to people like art directors or clients, and they've given me a box that they've put me in, like you do this in this amount of time, and I actually enjoy that. I enjoy the pressure of time constraints, and I enjoy the pressure of solving a problem that's given to you creatively. So those things really make me really excited. So that's why I can get excited about doing some product shots, because I'm solving a problem there and I'm being creative in the process, even though it may not seem very glamorous. And then on the other side of that, like when I did have my job, I was using the fact that I had the job, the fun, you know, to fund my hobby. And initially, I was really starting out more in the fine art side, rather than anything commercial. So in the last few months, I've been trying to work out how I could take what I was doing on the fine art side and maybe bring it into the commercial arena, but I haven't come up with any solutions. I've got some ideas, but I haven't really tried them yet. And, you know, to do these kind of shots, it takes so much time and energy. I find it pretty difficult to do that by myself. So I don't know how I could make that like my career, really. I mean, I have ideas, but I don't know if it would work.
So you're looking to bring the fine art side of what you do into your actual commercial work for clients?
Well, that would be ideal, but I think I have a long, long way to go. You know, I'm really at the very beginning. I'm kind of a novice at this, and I don't know, maybe my dream job would be somebody would commission me to make some kind of conceptual portrait. But
so you want to be a fine artist to some extent. You want to be able to create outside of the box where you're still hired by a client to create beautiful pieces, but you don't necessarily have them giving you parameters for your creativity.
I'm happy with parameters. I actually like parameters. I think they make me stronger. That's where my creative brain starts going. When I'm given a book, when I'm put in a box, and I have to create within the constraints. I've always felt that I've been more creative the more constraints I have, because I can see how far I can push something. Yeah. But if you give me a blank piece of canvas, then I'm like, it's much harder for me. I mean, I can do that too. I mean, I've done many shots where I have, but sometimes they've been initiated by some kind of challenge. So yeah, maybe doing it just with a blank canvas is something that's pretty hard for me.
Sounds like I should make that a personal challenge for you going forward. So really, like, you're happy where you are. You're just looking to pick it up more so that it becomes self-sustaining financially.
Yeah, I don't make much money so far. That's true. I'm living off my savings
Okay,
currently. So
well, let's talk about the clients that you do have and what you are getting hired for. Where are they coming from? What are they picking you up
I
for?
only have one client so far. No, I've had two
Okay.
clients so far. I had one client which was shooting for a craft magazine, 1 day's work, and then now I have my current client where I'm shooting all the product for a new online catalog.
Okay.
So I've already done like 700 pictures. So it's a lot of stuff that has to be churned out really quickly. But at least I'm learning about, how to shoot product and how to get that done and how best to process that and that kind of thing.
Is it important for you to call yourself a commercial photographer and have commercial clients, or are you interested in pushing into the portraiture side of it, where the models would be the ones paying you to create pieces of art with them as the subject?
I would like to do both.
Okay.
Yeah, I like both of those things.
Okay. Well, I definitely think with the originality and the vision, what you're really doing is you're giving people permission to play dress up and to play make believe and to do all the things that they were told to grow up and stop doing. And I don't think that we ever really lose the ability. I think at the core of artistry, that's what we are. That's what we're doing is we're just getting back in touch with what we really love and what we want to do and learning how to play again and ignoring all the voices that said, no, you can't take an art class because you'll be a starving artist the rest of your life, which I've heard as well. So by you following your path and answering that call and being at the heart of that, then you're giving other people permission to do that too and go, yes, by the way, you can be a princess and a fairy, and I can also make you a water sprite and we can have this beautiful ball gown just waterfall literally over all the rocks and turn it into a school of fish. And I can leave you in these places that you would never get to be otherwise, and that only exist within the parameters of my imagination, and I can show you what that looks like. So that's really, really attractive to a lot of people, because everybody keeps encouraging everybody else to grow up and be responsible and worry about logistics and set aside all that childish fancy. And what happens anytime you're told not to do something? It's all you want to do. So you can help people get back to that a little bit. And the business model for that opens up wide, because then you're not just looking, for commercial clients that are hiring you to create something that will sell something of theirs, in which case you're waiting for them to come up with products and services. You're just opening it up to anyone that can appreciate the beauty that your imagination provides. So pretty much every person that's a fan of you then becomes a potential client. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then, the other side of that is that by doing it that way, that also builds up your portfolio and adds a lot more work. And then, you have more things to show clients. And then as you're sharing them and they're sharing them and they're making them their profile photos, so-and-so's best friend happens to have a cousin who's the head of this major company who wants you to come over and shoot for him now. And like, it just spreads organically. Like, that's the beauty of the internet now in the world in which we live, and the way that it grows. Like, all of my business now, clients, contracts, models, housewives, everybody finds me on Facebook now. Like 99.9%. They even go, and the ones that go to my website and then contact me on Facebook. I can't remember the last time I actually got a contact form submitted on my website. So I think if you're looking to start building and shooting more and having more client interaction, building up your social media and just having more work to show will definitely help with that. And maybe looking at the possibility of creating these works of arts with the model as the client will help to branch out your portfolio, but also put a good bit of money in your pocket in the meantime while you're building up your commercial work. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay. Go ahead.
What was I going to say? I just think that maybe I need to speed up because the amount of time it takes me to organize this kind of thing and composite it is pretty much prohibitive in its affordability right now. Because I I think that you need to spend a lot of money to get somebody to do all that stuff for you, right? To organize the dress, to find the location, to pay for the location, the makeup.
Do you need
I'm a
people
terrible
to
business.
organize that for you?
Pardon?
Do you need people to organize that for you?
Well, I'd like to do it myself, but I guess somebody else could do that for me. I think one of the things I really need to do, what I struggle with, is I have worked with models from Model Mayhem, and I have worked with makeup artists. I haven't worked with really local stylists or hair yet, but I have never clicked with anyone yet. I want to find that muse, and I want to find that makeup artist that I can collaborate with, and I'm just struggling to do that.
So casting calls are really good. Going to local salons and spas, the higher end ones where they provide hair and makeup. And, really what I would do is I would just kind of pamper yourself and I would go in and get your hair and makeup done because it's as much about their personality as it is their talent. I had two really talented makeup artists that came in and tested with me, and they were only here a few weeks because I didn't like the energy that they were bringing, and by association, because they are working in my studio and for me, that reflects on me. And it's when you do click with someone and you find someone, like the two makeup artists that work with me now have been with me for years now, and I love them both for different reasons, and I know which clients they'll click with and hire them based on that. So I think a hair and makeup artist is really essential, and if you can find one that does both, all the better. Which is what I have. But at the same time, when I didn't have a makeup artist, I did it myself. And the same way that you can go online and you can learn everything from frequency separation to 3-light setups to advanced Photoshop and compositing, you can go online and learn how to do makeup the same way. So if you're finding it hard to do that and you haven't found your person and you don't have it, that's a great excuse for why you're not doing more, but it's still an excuse.
Oh, I'm not
so
using
you're
it.
either going to make it work or go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't want to use it as an excuse. I'm just saying that of all the ones I've tried, I just having trouble clicking. Maybe it's my fault.
Maybe, but at the same time, you get along with who you get along with. And I do think that's really important because if you're not clicking with them, then you're not going to be good about the workflow and the environment because you're not going to feed off each other. And I think that your artistry and probably theirs will both suffer as a result. It's the same reason like you don't cook when you're mad. Like it gets into the food. But if you're finding that and that's becoming a problem, then in the interim until you do find them, do it yourself. Or have the girls do their own makeup. And, with your Photoshop skills, I've seen people do incredible things with hair and makeup in Photoshop too. So if you don't want to do it on their face, then do it on their photos in post. But there's ways to work around everything. Same thing with designers and gowns, like, start going and shopping at the secondhand stores and Goodwill and
I actually have 50. I have a collection of 50 dresses.
Okay, then what do you need a designer for?
Huh?
What do you need a designer for? Stylist.
Oh no, I can do that.
Okay.
The makeup is harder, and also, well, they're just like old dresses. Sometimes you need a special piece or an accessory or something like that. The makeup is definitely harder for me because I don't even wear makeup, so I'm gonna be hopeless at that. Absolutely hopeless.
If you can't find a good makeup artist that can come work with you, then I would also consider the possibility of maybe going into one of the nearby salons, whatever is closer to you that does makeup, and having yours done. And if they do a good job, maybe working out something with the salon that they offer a discount and the girls get their makeup done there.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just feed it into the fee and set them up for like an hour or two before your shoot to go into the salon or spa and get their hair and makeup done before they come to you.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And then it takes it out. You don't have to work with anyone, but you're still getting the service. Just make sure that you're working with a good company that's going to turn out good results for you. And it may be the kind of thing that you end up working with one or two of the girls there if you're shooting regularly, that you can just, connect with them via social media and drop them a line and go, here's my inspiration for the shoot. I'm looking for a look like this, and make them a Pinterest board or send them a photo and go, this is what I want you to do to her today.
Mm-hmm.
So, but everything has a workaround.
Yep.
So, how are you feeling?
Okay.
You survived your first critique.
I was a bit nervous before, but it's okay.
Okay, good. So being in the Arcanum, and especially where we are in point, what are you looking to get out of it in the next 15 levels?
Well, I'm not sure what the 15 levels are yet. I'm looking forward to doing that. I just feel like I have so much work to do to improve, and I just want to keep plugging away at it and improving. And I know it's not going to be overnight, and it's going to take me time, and it's going to be frustrating at times, and I'm going to have failures, I'm going to have successes, but I just want to improve, my previous job I'd been doing for a long time, so I was, I didn't really have to even think about it. Mm-hmm. But now it's like starting at the beginning, and at my age it's kind of a little bit scary, so I just really want to improve, and so it's great to have another pair of eyes that can critique you in a safe environment where you could also have the chance to discuss it rather than just being, told something online by some commenter you never heard of. So it's really nice to have that interaction. And I'm just looking forward to improving and pushing myself a little more.
Good. So one thing I'm noticing is that you're very open-ended in what you're looking for. So by saying things like, I just want to improve, or, I just want people to grow with, it's so open-ended that you can't build a path to get there. That's like saying, I want to go west. Well, how west? Like to the Midwest? Like all the way to the coast? Like, are we going to the Western civilization? Like how far west? What are we doing? So
you got me. You sussed me out.
What I'd like you to do, your personal homework, is to really sit down and figure out, okay, you're definitely focused and centered on this idea of personal growth as an artist and improvement. So I want you to write a list of at least 10 things that specifically you feel the need to improve and keep growing on. You want to improve your lighting. You want to improve your Photoshop. You want to improve your business skills. You want to improve your bank account based on shoots that you're doing. Nothing's off limit, and the more the better. But when you start breaking big goals down into little concise things, then we can start knocking them off, and each of those little things is like a little semi-step in the milestones to getting you closer to where you want to be. Mm-hmm. So just spend a little time doing that and figuring it out, because you don't have to choose one thing. Like you were saying, you're kind of a jack of all trades. I'm fine with you doing that. If that's who you are and you love doing that and that makes you happy and you don't want to specialize, then don't specialize. Be the eccentric artist who's good at everything and is just that person that makes everybody mad, because no matter what they pick up, they're good at it and they're creatively expressive. My husband's that way with music. He can play 27 different instruments. Mm-hmm. If you see someone that can play the piano beautifully, you'll be impressed. But there's a different kind of awe that is felt when you go, oh, well, he can play 27 different instruments. That's a feat in itself.
So I
I agree with that. I don't want to do absolutely everything. You know, I don't want to do a wedding. I don't want to do landscapes. There's certain things I definitely know. So I'm not totally wide open. But
Okay, well, that's good. Knowing what you don't want to do is just as important as knowing what you do want to do. If you know you don't want to go that way, then you know that you're probably going to go somewhere in this direction. So that can be really helpful too. But I just want you to hone in just a little bit because you're like me and it's just a very vague artist thing. Like, I just want to create beautiful things and make lots of money doing it so that I can create more beautiful things, which is great. So go ahead.
I'm really hopeless at the money side and the business side. I just can't ask for money. I'm just hopeless at that. That's like my major stumbling block.
Okay, so business and marketing is going to be something that we're definitely going to work on that's going to be beneficial to you because your artwork is beautiful and it should definitely be commanding a price. Like, and if you go and you look at my work, like, I'm not that far ahead of you on any kind of technical things and you're creating these beautiful, almost like impressionist painting version of photography, which is so unique and so profound, and very few people do it well. So if we can get to that, and then we can get to the business side, like people don't pay less than $2,000 now to come in for a session. And I have packages that are smaller, but that's like the least anybody pays. They love it. If I can get them to do that when all they're doing is taking off their clothes, then when I tell them that I'm going to shoot them in a cave and turn their dress into a waterfall, oh my God, my price would be going up by like $4,000 easy. You know, like, so that part is a piece of cake, and it's intimidating because you're an artist. You're an artist in the way you talk. You're an artist in the way that you create. You're an artist in the way that you think. I can see it all the way through and through, which means by nature you're going to be a terrible business person. But that's not something that we can't teach you, and you know, and there are all kinds of ways to get around that. Like if you can't sell and you get tongue-tied when it comes time to like talk about products and prints and packages and what your rates are, you can very easily hire a salesperson to do that for you. Or it can all be digital. Like you can have it all to the point that you don't have to sell anything. But the unique part about it is that I never sell any of the products that I offer. Like my sales pitch is like a little 5x5 trifold. That's it. That's my whole brochure, all of my prices, everything fits on it. I don't have pages, I don't have websites, packages, anything like that. It's just one little 5x5 card that breaks down everything. And people don't want to buy the product, and people can compete with you on the products and the services. Anything you offer, any product, any company you work with, there's thousands of other people offering the exact same thing. What they can't do is they cannot be seen. They can't do it the way that you do. They can't see it the way that you can. That's why you can provide a critique with 4 images from an event that there were multiple photographers at, and yours look totally different. That's why I can put an assignment in the cohort with 20 of you in there and tell you all to do the exact same thing, and you will come back with 20 different things, because your eye is what makes you unique from everybody else in there and everybody else that is outside in the entire world. So what we want to do is we want to embrace the fact that you're an artist and make it so that every time you sign your name at the bottom of one of your prints, that's what gives it the value, because it was created by you.
Thank you.
So you're going to go, you're going to do your homework assignment, you're going to load all those lovely photos and check out somebody else, and then you are done and you are crossing into the second half of your first sphere of training, and then I will see you again at level 9.
Thank you very much, Jessica.
You're welcome. I will see you back in the group.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.